Hey, my name is Wes, and my pronouns are he, him. I'm a speech language pathologist and transgender speaker and consultant, and I popped onto Eugene Speech Therapy's YouTube today to share some tips on how to know what words to use for your clients, or really for all of the people in your life. This is part 2 in a 3-part series on queer and trans cultural responsiveness and gender affirming practices. In part 1, we touched on gender identity. As a reminder, gender identity is our deep knowing and internal sense of being a man, woman, both, neither, or another gender. Because it is an internal sense of knowing, gender is not something that we can see by looking at someone. Most of us have been operating within assumption culture. Assumption culture is the pervasive, implicit, and false messaging that you can tell things about other people by looking at them. We look at someone and we think we know what gender they are and what words we should use about them. This is an inequitable practice because although for many people it's true that the assumptions we might make about their gender and words are accurate, it is also true that for loads of people the assumptions we might make are inaccurate. No one wants to be called by the wrong pronouns, honorific, or other gendered words. In fact, the Trevor Project did a study in 2020 that found that transgender and non-binary youth who have their pronouns respected by all or most of the people in their lives attempt suicide at half the rate of those who do not have their pronouns respected. The way a person dresses, their hairstyle, the shape of their body, the sound of their voice, none of this tells you a person's gender-affirming words. So, if visual identifiers are not a reliable way to know what words to use about someone, how do we know? The first step in learning other people's pronouns is sharing our own. We can share our pronouns when we introduce ourselves, just like I did at the beginning of this video, and we can also share by putting our pronouns next to or under our name in email signatures, bios, websites, social media accounts, and video conferencing platforms. After we have shared our pronouns with someone, that is when it's appropriate to ask for theirs. We can simply ask, "What are your pronouns?" Or, "What words would you like me to use for you during our time together?" If it doesn't feel like an appropriate time to ask these questions, and if you're not able to learn their pronouns in another way, then you can just default to the all-inclusive gender pronouns of they, them. They, them includes all people, all genders. It's not exclusive to non-binary folks. So you can use they, them pronouns about anyone until you learn what their most affirming words are. Remember, sharing your pronouns first is key in this culturally responsive practice. And this practice of sharing and asking should be implemented with all clients, students, colleagues, regardless of their appearance and the assumptions that we might make about their identities. Gender-affirming practices like these save lives. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again for part 3 in this 3-part series on queer and trans cultural responsiveness and gender-affirming practices.